Okay, I think I'm on. Uh, Thanks everybody for having us. This time last year, we came over and we were strangers, but you welcomed us. So thank you for that. And not only you welcomed us, you ended up partnering with us in our ministry in the Philippines. And so thank you for doing that. And so we're back, and this morning, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you an update of the work that is being done in the Philippines. I was told that I have until, what time is that? About 10:15, I believe. Okay, so I think my wife, I'm here with my wife, Anna, again, would make sure that I stay within my time limit. And we're supposed to have the kids. So we have two children, as I've mentioned, Nathan and Amanda, but Nathan has to work. And Amanda can't come with us, and so it's just the two of us. Be nice if Nathan's here so I could have him preach. But I don't have to do both Bible study and sermon. Partners in mission, taken from Philippians chapter 1, verse 5. And we'll talk about that later. But first, I'd like to show you some pictures as I update you with the ministry that's being done in the Philippines. But on this first picture, it's a grab picture from the internet. And so you see people rowing. The mascot for the school is under rowers. And it would help if I was able to find some pictures of under rowers. But so I just decided, I'm just going to get some pictures of people rowing. And it's symbolic in a sense that as partners in a rowing team, you have to row at the same time, in the same direction, listening to the same voice. And so that's why we picked the under rower. Under rower, by the way, is taken from 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1, translated in most English Bible as servant, but it did not come from the word doulos. It come from the word huperites, which literally translated as under rowers. On a galley ship, you have three layers of rowers, and at the very bottom, the lowest of the low are called under rowers. And typically, they were sold into slavery, or they were kidnapped. But these under rowers were basically prisoners, and they are chained to their seat. And so they can't go anywhere. And so so they are being used on galley ship. And galley ships were used by either the military, for cargoes, and pirates. But the good thing about under rowers is that there's always somebody on the ship, even when they dock on port. On a last minute notice, they could always go underway because there are people on the ship that are ready to roll because they can't go anywhere. So it was interesting that Paul would use it to describe himself in 1 Corinthians, because there is a dispute going on. There were people trying to discredit him being an apostle, and so they could discredit the gospel that he is preaching. And as if he was telling them that not only we are servants, but we are under rowers. We are huperites. And so huperites is known as that kind of slave that you could always count on because they can't go anywhere. We're here to stay. You could criticize us, but we're here to stay. And so that's Paul using the word huperites for himself and the other apostles. So we kind of like that term, and so I would tell that story to the students, not only as future preachers and leaders in the church, but to remind them that the best position and the highest position that you could be dreamed of as a leader is that of a servant. And not just an ordinary servant, but a huperites, an under-rower. Okay. The main thrust of our ministry is three-pronged. We deal with education and training. That's where the Bible College comes in. Also, church development. We do training and seminars for church leaders and other congregations. And so on the weekend, well, if we're not teaching in the school, every weekend we go down to the lowlands. We call them lowlands. Baguio, where the school is nestled on top of a mountain. And so every weekend, pretty much, we go down to the lowlands to teach and preach in some of the congregations. No, most of the time on a Sunday, I come back up to Baguio to preach, because there's also a congregation in Baguio that we started, and I try to do what I preach. And I basically tell the preachers that you could be involved in other congregation, but make sure you don't sacrifice your own congregation. So we make it a point that on Sunday we're back with our home congregation to teach and preach. And also church planting. We're involved in planting churches, and I'm going to talk more about that later on. The school logo and purpose. And so here we say that our main purpose, that is to glorify God, is expressed in our vision. That is, the Heritage Bible College is the premier school for Christians seeking to integrate biblical scholarship, ministry experience, and spiritual transformation. And in our mission, which is to provide biblically sound, culturally relevant, and spiritually transforming training for mission and ministry in planting and building up churches in rural and urban settings. So while it is a school and we focus on the activities of the school, but the bigger picture is beyond the school. And I firmly believe that the school exists primarily to glorify God, and then at the same time to serve churches and families. So whenever I go out and teach, that's what I would tell churches. We're here to exist to support you and also to support the family. What we meant by that is we're here to continue what you are doing, especially with families. Our objectives is to train preachers, church leaders, and ministry workers. We're co-ed. We also have female students. Also to help develop healthy, growing churches, and to plant new churches in key towns and cities. There's quite a number of churches in the Philippines, but not in urban settings, not in urban areas, mostly rural. And there's nothing wrong with that, but most of the people in the country, of about 110 million, are going urban, about 60% right now. And they were saying about 70% in the next few years are going to be urban settlers. And so we need to not only plant churches, but learn how to plant and nurture churches in urban settings. These are the faculty. Not sure if you could see them. With the exception of John Hinckley, which is based in California, and he's teaching music for us. He's a music teacher there. The youngest would be myself and my wife. Everyone else is over the age of 80. And so, but we have a plan later with a new set of teachers taking their master's program right now to help teach in the school. We offer a Bachelor of Theology degree in residency, but we're planning to start an online program in September. when we get back. The focus of the emphasis of the study is congregational ministry, church planting and mission, and also youth and family ministry. Although I said emphasis, it's a track, but everybody needs to take courses in all those three ministries. Unlike when I was studying at Sunset, you could just pick one, and then that's going to be your specialization. But we cannot afford that in the Philippines. Everybody would have to learn this, because when you get to the congregation, they expect you to know everything, including song leading. So that's why we have music. Initially, though, I don't want to add additional course and teach music. But every time a congregation would ask for a preacher, and then, oh, by the way, send us somebody who could not only lead but teach music. I say, okay. So we added a music class. And that's why we got John, and he is very helpful. Okay, the focus of our education and training is triple focus. We just call it 3 H's. Head, heart, and hand. Head, we talk about the in-depth biblical studies. So our classes are mainly Bible and ministry courses. And then the heart is the transformation, especially transforming them from boys and girls to men and women to servant leaders. And also hand. Give them some real world practicum that they could, that before they leave school, they know what they're going to do with the knowledge that they have. And so for applied ministry, for the practicum side, we have 3 areas that we're trying to train them in. The first one is community outreach. So every week on a Wednesday afternoon, we don't have classroom classes. They go out into the community, either distributing tracts, door knocking, but actually it's beyond that. The focus of the community outreach training is for them to learn to build relationship. So instead of your typical, later on I have some pictures. I guess, let me explain it with the pictures. Anyway, so community outreach, weekend preaching, urban ministry, church planting, ministry development. So for example, here's a picture of one of the community service that they do. They go out to the neighboring community of where Heritage at. Typically, it's the poorer part of the neighborhood. And they would not only teach, but they would sit down with kids, and for an hour or 2, they would just play with them and teach Bible stories. And this is one of the students, Shane. If you find a group of kids, so typically they'll start playing whatever they're playing, and then next thing you know, they're sitting down and they're just talking to them, and they're teaching them Bible stories. And also, they would prepare some food. So we have 3 ministries going on for community: the kids ministry, youth ministry, and college ministry. Those who are involved in youth and kids ministry, we'll give them a budget for the week. And typically what they do is they would prepare food, and they'll take that food into the community and feed the children, basically, while they were talking with them. And also, the next one is weekend preaching. For level 2 students, I failed to mention that we offer bachelor's degree, accelerated bachelor's degree, in 2 years. And so after your first year, you go to, then that's your level 1 classes, and then you come back to be in the level 2 classes. But once they're in level 2, they are required, the boys are required to go to the lowlands to preach to congregations that don't have preachers, who would contact us and ask for help, especially on the weekend. And so this is one of those congregations. There are 12 congregations that we're serving on a weekly basis. So I have several teams that would go down to the lowlands. And on a Friday afternoon after class, the morning class is over, or early Saturday. And in one of those trips, Tom accompanied me, dropping off the teams in different places. And basically, it took us all day just to drop them off. So that's what they do on the weekends. They preach to smaller congregations. And here are some of the pictures, baptism pictures, in some of the congregations that they were serving. In between level 1 and level 2s, they go into a 2-month internship. And so the break, which is the summer break, really is not a break for the students. It's a break away from school. And it's not really a break away from me, because just like Tom said, it's either they have to contact me or I have to contact them. I learned that when I was in the military. We have this, one of the sailors who are with us, he's supposed to contact his mom once a week. But if he failed to contact his mom would contact the ship. Not him, would contact the ship. And mom would call the quarterdeck and would ask specifically for his name. And next thing you know, on the announcement system, on the 1MC, here goes the name of whoever that guy was. And then they're going to call him to the quarterdeck because mom's looking for him. So that's the rule. Either you contact me or I contact you. So the boys are all in Metro Manila because the purpose of this internship is urban ministry. You cannot, in the Philippines, you cannot go more urban than Metro Manila. It's a metropolis of about 14, 15 million people. And you got all kinds of people. And so they're there for 2 months. So we have 6 teams in Metro Manila right now serving 7 or 8 congregations. The rest of the ladies went back to their home congregations mostly, and they're serving in 5 different congregations. So altogether, this summer we're serving about 12 congregations. But anyway, these are the groups that are in Metro Manila. So what they do, and here's the thing, we do the community outreach on a weekly basis at Heritage, and so it comes natural. The transition becomes natural for them when they go to different places because they know exactly how to engage people, especially on the streets. And that's what they do. They're not just distributing tracts. I have a lot of pictures because we have a group chat in everything that we do. And on a daily basis, they would dump pictures in that group chat. And you could see the pictures that they're taking and saving in the group chat, where they would just mingle with people. And they would spend their time outside doing that. If they find children just playing outside, they start playing with the children. And then next thing you know, they'll start teaching them Bible stories. And now this, first of all, it's very important that you engage the little children and even the youth. But we found out that in urban settings, it's kind of difficult to go straight to the adults. They're busy. But if you could penetrate the kids, then it would be a lot easier to penetrate the parents. Because parents, if they think they could trust you with their children, then you gain their trust as well. And so door knocking, more of a gate knocking. And normally you'll be greeted by a German Shepherd. And so this is the internship program. And then another thing is every batch, so this is going to be the 4th practicum they're going to have while studying at Heritage. When they get to level 2, then by batch they have to plant a congregation. And so when this group that are doing internship right now comes back in August, then on the weekend, not only they'll be preaching in the smaller congregations, they'll be starting a congregation. Last term, last school year, and that was in March and April time frame. We did survey of several towns, and so they get to pick out of that survey that they did. They get to pick one town where they're going to start a congregation. Okay, and so that's for the church planting practicum they're going to have. And let me see, I'm going back. I think I got confused. Okay, let me see. Okay, I know what I did wrong. Okay, so, and I said earlier, the last one is they have to develop their own ministries. Reason for that is once they graduated, if they have a ministry that they are gifted in and they think they could be more effective in that ministry, even if they don't end up working full-time for a congregation, they could still actively engage in that congregation with their ministries. Many of them would go into youth ministry. And so they could present that to the congregation. Because congregations in the Philippines, by the way, Philippines is a very young population. I said 110 million, 113 million people. More than half of that is under the age of 25. And that is reflected in the congregation. So if you happen to look at my website or not website, Facebook page, or even any of the Facebook page of the other churches in the Philippines, you'll see that majority of the members are young people. Primarily because it reflects the demographic of the country. Activities, so on top of the ministries that they have to do, we have several activities where they could get more experience. Modelo is a camp that we do twice a year, in December and in the summer. And it's a leadership training camp. And then Aya is an activity, a weekend activity that we do away. So Modelo is home. We bring the kids in to Heritage, and Aya, or adolescent and young adult, is an away activity. We go to different congregations, typically by provinces. So we pick a province for each month, and then we find a congregation that's willing to host us. And part of their responsibilities is to invite youth from other congregations. And so we do that by province. Hayuma is a retreat. We do a men's retreat, ladies retreat. And the third one is, we call it Hayuma Connect, which is a retreat for the alumni of the school. SLV, or Salt Light Voices, is a singing group. And so we train a certain number of students to sing and lead singing. And typically in many of this away or any programs that we have, I take them with us because singing is a big part of the ministry that we do. And especially many congregations, they would like to sing. And so it helps us a lot. A training seminar, mainly leadership training seminars, or evangelism or ministry. Many congregations would request for us to send them students on the weekend. We cannot do that for every single congregation. Specifically, if they're requesting for somebody to help them with their young people or kids ministry, what we do, what the other alternative, which I believe is a better alternative, is we say we could come and train your youth to do kids ministry or children's ministry, to do youth ministry, and how to do this various activities. And that's what we do. We come, I have a group of students with me, and they train them how they do it at Heritage, and they monitor them, evaluate them. So what we do is we have a specific point of contact or group, and then from time to time we follow up on how they were doing, if they have any questions, and So that's what they would do. And then you have the college ministry. And college ministry is a very important ministry because Baguio is a university town. We have several big universities in Baguio, and the college student population is about 70,000, I believe, or probably higher. And so there are a lot of youth Christians coming from other congregations that would come up to Baguio to study. And so one of the objectives of the college ministry team is to connect with them and do a bunch of activities for the college kids that are studying in secular. But it's more than that. We're trying to engage them, really. Part of the teams that we're trying to put together is the college ministry, and we we're challenging them to plant congregation in one of the identified locations. And so hopefully for this year and next, we identified 4 locations, and we have 4 different teams, Lord willing, that would start planting congregations in those towns. Recruiting, we've been blessed. Coming into this ministry Bible college, like 6 years ago when we started in 2018. 2017, I traveled back to the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines. It's always been a dream that we'll start a Bible college. In 2017, I went back and I was trying to do some research. And I found out that we do have a number of schools, Bible schools, but almost every single one of them were having a hard time recruiting students. And so one of the questions I would have to deal with, especially in my mind, is, so if they are having a hard time recruiting students, then I'm going to be another school, and then collectively we're going to have a hard time recruiting students collectively. And but we've been blessed that before we could, for the last 3 years, before we could even start recruiting students, the slots are already full. And this coming August, we're going to start with 63 students. And mainly, more than 50% of those students coming in came to us via Modelo camps. As I've said, it's twice a year. We do it twice a year. And so many of these kids were Modelo campers that would come back every time we have Modelo. And so when they were in the 10th grade and 11th grade, they already decided that they're going to come to Heritage once they finish senior high school, which is a good thing because many of them are good students. And it's not one of those cases that they don't know what to do, and that's not bad, or they don't know what to do, or they don't have a place to go to, so that's why they come to a Bible college. Many of these students are good students, but it's been part of their plan that after high school, they'll come and study at Heritage. Another source of our recruiting are the church leaders of different congregations. A good number of our students are preachers' kids. We got a good number of them. And alumni. And social media, of course, help us a lot in our recruiting. Graduates, I'm going to show you some pictures of our graduates. Man, almost time. I'll save a couple of minutes, I guess, if you have questions. So this is the first batch. We started in 2018. Bachelor's program is 2 years. We're supposed to have our first graduation in 2020. But because of COVID, and we have a lot of, most of these people who graduated in 2021 were out in the field doing their internship, and I cannot recall them back for the start of the school year because of COVID. And so we had to wait a little bit, and then we have to adjust the school calendar. And then finally, in 2021, a collection basically of 2 batches graduated as our first batch in 2021. uh, we have 16 on the first batch in 2022. We graduated 8. This is the COVID batch when not many people were able to come up to Baguio. And last year we graduated 14 in 2023. And this year we graduated 25. This batch next year, the level 2 batch that's coming back, there's about 20 of them that's going to graduate. Actually, it's not only it's a good number, but it's a good number retention-wise. There are 3 statistics that I'm trying to keep track of as far as the students' number. 1 is recruiting, how many would come in, and 2, how many would graduate out of those numbers that are coming in every year, and how many are going to stay in the ministry out in the field after graduation, specifically the first 5 years. And so what's the future plans for Heritage? For the rest of 2024, when we get back, we'll be focusing in church planting, at least 1 congregation, Lord willing 2. And then we're going to start the online program. It's going to be the pilot program first. Try to learn how we're going to go about doing this. But it's going to be an online program, and we're preparing for a national youth camp. Now, a national youth camp happens every 3 years. And so for this, the last one was in 2019. Supposedly the next one is 2022. But because of COVID, it didn't happen. But after that, though, no one is interested in hosting the national youth camp. And so we volunteered. So we just want all the youth, to come together. If there's an opportunity, for us, it's more than a camp. It's an opportunity to train and to teach the young people. So if we could gather this many hundreds of young men and women under the same roof to teach them, we'll take that opportunity to do it. Okay, here's the picture of Luzon. I highlighted La Union, which is a province. The province next to it, to the right, left is China Sea. To the right is Benguet, where Baguio is located. So it's a neighboring province to us. That is the site for the church planting that we're planning to do. So it would only take us 2-3 hours to drive down. And then so the plan is every Friday afternoon after the classes are over, then for the most part I'll put everybody in the van that's part of that church planting team and then drive them down to La Union. And so we'll see how is that going to work. The target area is up north of that La Union. There's a church in Luna. That's every one of this. The map represents a town or municipalities. Luna is where we planted a congregation in 2019. And that congregation planted another congregation next to it in Bangar, but it's a relatively small congregation. And then it revived a congregation in Sidupan, which is just a handful of older Christians, average age of about 75, that would speak only their dialect. So it's quite challenging for us. But we're planning to plant churches in the towns south of Luna. That is Balawan, Bacnotan, San Juan. And those are the towns that we surveyed back in March. 2025 and beyond, we're focusing on expansion. Although we're starting an online program, and that would be as significant for our future training program. However, the kind of training that we provide really the backbone of it is the residential program. There is no substitute to, especially I've said we're focusing on the head, heart, and hand, especially the heart thing, the transformation, because most of our students are 18, 19 years old. So we cannot, we won't be able to accomplish what we want to accomplish online with that training program. But anyway, so part of the future expansion that we have is the online program, but also expanding the main campus in Baguio, and also the established or identified some training center all over the Philippines. Now I want to get to this alumni in the fields. I'm going to share with you just 6 of the 62 graduates so far that we had. 62, 63. First is Pedimar Jimenez. He belongs to the first batch. So Pedimar came to us from the province of Cebu. It's in the middle part of the Philippines, and that is a long province, and on top of that province there are smaller islands, and this is the island. It's called Bantayan Island, and Bantayan Island in 2013, when that huge hurricane, typhoon, we call it typhoon, covered pretty much the entire Philippines. It's so huge, and in the center of it went across this island, and almost every single house on that island was vanished by the time the typhoon was finished with it. And so there's a lot of humanitarian relief effort, and we have a group in the Philippines, members of the Churches of Christ. They're doing medical humanitarian services. And in this occasion, though, they got involved with building houses because that's what's needed. And so they built this community. And they put up a chapel in that community. And Pedimar's family was one of the beneficiary of this housing project. But he lives in another island. So they would travel to here. And then he got interested in studying the Bible. And so he came to Heritage, one of the first students. And he's one of those students that from the beginning he said, I'm going back to help. But I always told Pedimar, you're too big for Bantayan. And I meant it for good. There's a number of congregations, more established congregations, that would want his services after graduation. But he really wants to go back to Bantayan Island. And so he did. And then when he came back there, the following school year, he sent me 5 students that he was mentoring, part of his youth group. And so 4 of those students graduated last month. And now they're back, just like Pedimar. A number of congregations in Luzon were trying to recruit them, but they want to go back to Bantayan. As a group, though, their dream is to start as many congregations in those little islands. And so that's what they were trying to do. I have one gentleman who was asking for their service, and I don't think he's upset, but the last time, my last conversation, they decided to go back to Bantayan. And so they went back to Bantayan. I asked them, what's your plan? He said, our plan is, because they want to study secular, pursue their degrees. And by the way, all of them came from a fisherman village. And so at a very young age, they were breadwinners for their families. So now what they want to do is, they already enrolled in the local community college. This is them doing their ministries. You have to ride a boat to move from islet to islet. And they're going to study at the community college and at the same time start campus ministry there. They're good. These kids, when they were at Heritage, though, they were running some of our campus ministries. John Epilogo is the full-time minister in Luna Church up in La Union, and that's one of the reasons why we plan to start the church planting up in the community next to where he's at, because I know that he's going to take care of the students that are coming down there. Having started another congregation and revive another one. So, but anyway, it's sorry, the pictures are a little darker. So they're involved with a lot of youth program, including basketball, by the way. Last 3 baptisms that they have the past couple of months were product of basketball ministry. So they play basketball, and then what it is let me show you. See, so this picture right here, one of their ministry is they ask permission for the school principal to teach value formation in school. But there's a catch. You cannot talk about religion, you cannot talk about Bible, you cannot talk about God, just values formation. And so what they do, they took that and they teach values formation. And then at the same time, they'll have another ministry, an interim ministry, that they could tell the kids, hey, by the way, we have basketball this Friday if you want to come. And so some of the kids would come, and there they could teach them Bible, they could teach them the gospel. And they become part of the youth ministry in the process. And one of the kids that just got baptized a couple of months ago, he said when he graduated high school, he'll come to Heritage. By the way, one of the graduates that we have last month came from Luna, from that young congregation. Ken, also one of our graduates, Ken graduated in 2022. And one thing about Ken is he's a very good coordinator, facilitators. In many of these camps that I'm organizing, he'll be my main man, organizing it and running it. And so now, even now that he already graduated a couple of years back, I would always recall him, if not to be one of the advisors for the students so they know what they're doing. And let me go fast. And Christian Kunanan, he came to us. He's an electrical engineer, but he wants to study Bible. And I was surprised after graduation, he decided he's going to go full-time in ministry, and he did. And which is a good thing, because that congregation where he's at is a dying congregation. And so not only they were able to revive it, but they become very active. Keisha, one of our graduates in 2023, she's studying right now. She's studying psychology, but I put her up there because she's very smart to start with. She graduated valedictorian of her class. He's a DOST government scholar, studying at St. Louis University right now in Baguio, not here in Missouri. But anyway, I think one of the reasons why we are getting a lot of female students, especially smart ones, is because of her. Because she would teach the Sunday ladies class, and every time we have Modelo, pretty much, she's handling all the ladies classes, and a few others, and they would look up to her, especially in the way she would explain the scriptures. So it's a good thing. And EJ, he's taking up psychology course. At the same time, he's doing his master's program with Sunset. He's in charge of the college ministry, and he's doing a great job. And that's a college ministry. They have a Wednesday Devo in one of the places in Baguio. They have an online Devo right after that. They have a Saturday care group and events that they hold for the college kids. Okay. And that's it. Now, sometimes people would ask me, how many of your graduates are full-time in ministry? In the Philippines, the definition of full-time in ministry is a little different. Because every single one of those individuals that I showed you, and many more of the graduates, I would say they were working full-time. But it's not that they were working full-time and they were supported, because there's few congregations that they could support them. Even the couple of, one or two of them that are getting supported by congregations, they're getting basically allowances, not support. And so all of them are working, so they could work for churches, so they could do their ministry, because that's the only way they could serve. But they know that coming in. And so that is why I would say I really admire these kids, because coming in, they know that they're going to spend 2 years studying Bible, getting this degree that is not really giving them a job that is going to support them or their family. And many of them would come into Bible school. They not only they know that, but also they know that they would have to work somewhere else so they could be involved in ministry, or finish their degree outside so they could work. But they're not alone. Many of the preachers in the Philippines are doing the same thing. And so for that, I really admire this young men and women. So not only they know they're making sacrifices coming in, but even after graduation, they would continue to serve in ministry. So I'm going to leave you with this. Philippians 1:4-5. Paul said, "In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now." Paul established the church in Philippi. Many would say the first church in Europe. But only after his door was shut, when he planned to go to Ephesus, and then when he go up north, and then he was led to Troas, and all those doors were closed. And then a call coming from Macedonia, where Philippi is, appeared in his dream. Little did Paul know that that congregation that he's going to start on his second missionary journey is going to help him continue his ministry in Europe. Let me show you a couple more scriptures before I make a comment and apply it to our partnership. Paul would say in 1 Corinthians 3:16, "I planted, Apollos watered, but it was God who gave the increase." Jesus, in one of his parables, in Mark 4:26-29, told the crowd, "The kingdom of God is as if a man should scatter seed on the ground and should sleep by night and rise by day, and the seed should sprout and grow. He himself does not know how. For the earth yields crop by itself." Underline that word, by itself. "First the blade, then the head, after that the full grain in the head. But when the grain ripens, immediately he puts in the sickle, because the harvest has come." The point that Christ is making is the farmer is important, but the farmer didn't do all the work. It seems like it. But the moment the farmer put the seed in the ground, he would just have to wait until the harvest time. Because according to Christ, automatically, the seed will grow. Automatically, from our point of view. That's the law of nature. But who puts the law of nature? Paul would explain it in that 1 Corinthians 3:16. It is God who put the law of nature, and God who put the increase. So, as far as the Philippians Christian goes, when he said, "I really thank God every time I remember of you because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now." That until now is more than 10 years later. From the day the church was established to the time Paul wrote Philippians, which when he was in prison in Rome. That's more than 10 years. Partnership that they have. But Paul knows very well how that partnership is nurtured. He said in verse 6, he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion at the day of Christ. The work that we do, one day we're going to harvest it, but only because God is in control of everything that we do. Thank you very much.